Maya Patel lived a life designed to look unremarkable. On the surface, she was an ordinary graduate student at the University of Chicago, buried in coursework, research papers, and the endless grind of academia. Her classmates saw her as serious, sometimes too serious. She rarely joined parties, skipped sports events, and had little patience for gossip. If asked about her future, she mumbled something vague about research or teaching. It worked. People stopped pressing her for details, and she remained invisible in the swirl of campus life. But behind the facade, Maya was living a carefully constructed lie. Her days were spent in libraries and lecture halls. Her nights sometimes in quiet coffee shops. But her true identity existed somewhere else behind locked doors. Encrypted servers and voices that spoke in code. She was more than a student. She was Shadowhawk 9, the youngest operative ever recruited into the Black Hawks, a covert cyber defense task force tasked with protecting the United States from unseen threats. Recruiters had discovered her when she was just 18. While her peers were preparing for prom, Maya had been quietly solving puzzles online that weren't supposed to be solvable. Buried in government databases, her digital fingerprints left whispers of her presence. Instead of arresting her, the Black Hawks had shown up on her doorstep. That was 4 years ago. Since then, Maya had lived 2 lives, one ordinary, one extraordinary. And until tonight, the ordinary had been winning. The library's clock struck 10 as she closed her laptop. A pile of reference books sat stacked around her, evidence of another long day spent preparing for an upcoming paper. She rubbed her eyes, exhausted, ready to go home and collapse into bed. Students around her chatted about plans for the weekend: bars, games, parties. She envied their simplicity, the carefree rhythm of their lives. Then her phone buzzed. It wasn't the usual hum of a text or call. This was different, deeper a vibration she felt in her bones. She froze. Only one app could cause that kind of alert, and it wasn't supposed to activate unless everything else had failed. Her hand trembled as she pulled the device from her bag. The screen glowed faintly, displaying a code she hoped never to see again. Shadowhawk 9, activate. Her pulse spiked. She sat perfectly still, unable to hear the chatter around her. It was as if the world had gone mute. She pressed the phone tight to her chest, staring at the code as if she could will it away. It didn't vanish. The Black Hawks were calling her back. Maya closed her laptop, shoved it into her bag, and stood abruptly. The scraping of her chair startled the group beside her. "Big test?" one of them asked with a laugh. She forced a small smile, nodding. "Yeah, something like that." Then she hurried out, leading behind the warmth of the library for the biting night air. Her mind raced. Why now? Why her? The Black Hawks hadn't needed her in almost a year. Her last mission had been routine, just another digital break-in traced, another firewall rebuilt. Nothing that should have made her a priority. Yet the code on her phone wasn't ambiguous. It wasn't a drill or a warning. It was a demand. Drop everything. Come now. She pulled her jacket tighter and walked quickly across campus. The city hummed in the distance. Sirens, traffic, laughter spilling from bars. Normal life went on, oblivious to the crisis looming in secret. By the time she reached her apartment, the SUV was already waiting. It looked unremarkable at first glance, just another black vehicle parked under a flickering streetlight. But Maya knew better. No plates. Windows tinted darker than legally allowed. Engine running, waiting for her. The passenger window rolled down slightly. The driver, a man with close-cropped hair and an unreadable face, didn't bother with greetings. "Get in," he said flatly. Maya obeyed. She climbed into the back seat, the familiar sterile scent of leather and disinfectant wrapping around her. The door shut, sealing her inside. No words were exchanged as the SUV pulled away, blending into the flow of late-night traffic. A manila folder rested on the seat beside her. Thick, heavy. Her fingers hesitated before picking it up. Stamped across the front in bold, unforgiving letters were two words: crisis, new horizon. Her throat tightened. She flipped it open. Inside were printouts of intercepted transmissions, strings of code highlighted in red, and grainy photographs of unfamiliar faces. She scanned quickly, her training kicking in. It didn't take long to see the pattern. This wasn't random. A foreign cell had breached the grid. Chicago's power and water systems were compromised. They weren't after data this time. They were after the city itself. Maya swallowed hard, forcing her breathing to steady. She had seen attacks before, plenty of them, but this was different. This wasn't hypothetical. This wasn't a test case studied in a classroom. This was real, and it was happening now. If they failed tonight, millions could suffer. The SUV cut through the city, headlights reflecting off tall glass buildings. Maya tried to calm the storm in her chest, repeating her mental mantra: focus, analyze, act. Fear had no place where she was going. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a short text. No signature, no sender. Just one line. You've been chosen for a reason. Don't hesitate. She stared at the message until her reflection blurred in the window glass. She knew what it meant. The Black Hawks hadn't summoned her by accident. Whatever was unfolding tonight, she wasn't just a small piece. She was central. Her cover as an ordinary student had just been shattered. The SUV turned sharply, heading toward the industrial district near the river. It slowed only when they reached a nondescript warehouse with no signs, no logos, nothing to suggest life inside. The vehicle rolled through a gate that sealed behind them with a metallic clang. Maya stepped out, clutching the folder to her chest. The warehouse door opened automatically, flooding her with harsh fluorescent light. Inside, the Black Hawk's command center pulsed with urgency. Banks of monitors lined the walls, streams of data scrolling faster than the eye could follow. Dozens of agents worked in silence, their faces drawn tight with focus. And in the center of it all stood Commander Lewis. "Maya," he said, his deep voice cutting through the noise. "Glad you made it." She swallowed hard, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "What's the situation?" He nodded toward the wall of screens. Numbers, graphs, and maps shifted in chaotic rhythm. "We've got 4 hours before the entire city goes dark." "Shadowhawk 9, it's your desk now." Maya stepped forward, her legs heavy but steady. She set the folder down beside the console, slipped into the chair, and let her fingers hover above the keyboard. Her heart thudded like a drum, but her mind clicked into place. The fear, the doubt, the second-guessing, all of it faded beneath the weight of responsibility. She wasn't Maya Patel, the quiet graduate student with overdue assignments. Not here, not tonight. She was Shadowhawk 9, and she was about to fight for the survival of Chicago. Maya's chair clicked against the polished floor as she leaned closer to the console. The monitors bathed her face in cold blue light, streaming lines of code faster than any human eye could truly process. The Black Hawks moved around her like shadows in a storm, some scribbling notes, others speaking into headsets in clipped, urgent tones. Every movement was precise, calculated. Every second mattered. This wasn't a training exercise. This wasn't a simulated intrusion. This was the real thing. A foreign cell had infiltrated Chicago's power and water systems, embedding a Trojan deep within city infrastructure. If triggered, the attack could leave millions in darkness, disrupt hospitals, stop trains mid-journey, and collapse water pressure to critical levels. Maya ran her fingers over the keyboard, scanning and decoding. Her mind, honed from years of covert training, went into autopilot. Every pattern, every anomaly, every stray line of code leapt out at her like arrows in the night. The folder labeled Crisis, New Horizon, sat beside her, filled with intercepted transmissions, communications, and photographs. One image caught her eye. A man with a sharp scar along his jawline, eyes cold and calculating. His face had appeared before in encrypted chatter years ago, an adversary she knew only as Wraith. Wraith. He was cunning, ruthless, and always 2 steps ahead. And tonight, he had chosen Chicago. Shadowhawk 9, Commander Lewis's voice cut through the tense silence. You'll need to neutralize the Trojan before it triggers. Your mirror servers are prepped. But be careful, it's adaptive. It will respond to anything you throw at it. Maya nodded, swallowing hard. Understood. The room seemed to shrink around her as she focused. Fingers flying over the keys, she began dissecting the malicious code. It was intricate, layered in decoys and false paths designed to mislead even experienced operatives. She traced the first sequence, a disguised backdoor that could allow hackers to manipulate electrical substations remotely. She felt a rush of adrenaline. This was her world. Unlike lectures, deadlines, or mundane essays, this demanded real-time decisions, intuition, and precision. One misstep, and the city itself could pay the price. A monitor flashed red. Attempted breach detected. Maya froze. The code was fighting back, attempting to bypass her containment measures. Her fingers trembled briefly, but she forced herself to stay calm. Training kicked in. She isolated the intrusion, creating a virtual decoy server to trap it. Then, with careful precision, she inserted a counterscript designed to neutralize the Trojan without triggering its self-destruct. The room watched her in silence. Many of the Black Hawks had decades of experience, yet they deferred to her now. She was the youngest operative on the team, barely 22, and yet here she was, holding the city's fate in her hands. Hours passed like minutes. Each move she made drew Wraith's attention. Her screen flickered with taunting messages. You're clever, Shadowhawk 9. But cleverness won't save them. Maya's jaw tightened. This wasn't just a cyber battle. This was psychological warfare. Wraith knew her. He had studied her patterns, her responses. He knew how she thought, how she operated. He was testing her, pushing her to make a mistake. Trace the signal, Commander Lewis barked. Find him. We need to know where he's hiding. Maya's eyes darted across multiple monitors. Proxy chains, VPN layers, and encrypted tunnels hid Wraith's location. But she noticed a subtle rhythm in his activity, a repeated pattern almost imperceptible. She traced it through a cascade of false networks, finally identifying a likely node deep in Nevada. A chill ran down her spine. Wraith had deliberately left a trail, daring her to follow it. Got him, she said softly, almost to herself. Her fingers danced over the keys, launching countermeasures to isolate him further. The other operatives watched in awe. They had never seen someone so young, so small in stature, dominate a live cyber battlefield like this. Redirecting the Trojan into a sandbox server, she murmured. The digital trap she had created would contain Wraith's attack without harming the city. Every move was precise, calculated, a high-wire act with no net below. Copy that, a voice said over the comms. You're stabilizing the grid. But Maya wasn't done. She scanned deeper, identifying a second layer of malicious code, a hidden Trojan set to activate if her countermeasures succeeded. It was Wraith's fail-safe, designed to punish anyone who tried to stop him. Her heart skipped a beat. One wrong keystroke, one miscalculation, and the city could collapse. Focus, she whispered to herself. Fingers steady, she began dissecting the second Trojan. Each line of code revealed itself as a puzzle, a deadly puzzle with consequences far beyond the digital world. Suddenly, one of the monitors flashed with a real-time map of Chicago. Streetlights flickered across the city as minor disruptions appeared, precursors to the catastrophe that could erupt if Wraith succeeded. Hospitals, schools, subway lines all vulnerable. Maya felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She ignored it. She couldn't afford panic. Mirror servers active, she reported. Trojan responses diverted. Main grid secure for now. The room exhaled collectively, but she knew this wasn't over. Wraith remained inside the network, taunting her, testing her, probing for weaknesses. Then her phone buzzed in her pocket. A secure line, direct from her Black Hawk handler. "Shadowhawk 9, the voice said, low and urgent. "You're dealing with Wraith. He's dangerous. Expect traps. Don't underestimate him." "I won't," Maya replied, her voice calm despite the adrenaline surging through her veins. She returned her attention to the screens. The Trojan attempted to replicate, spreading into secondary nodes. Maya countered with precision, isolating each strand, rerouting it into the sandbox servers she had prepared. Her mind moved faster than she had ever imagined possible. She was not just reading code. She was anticipating it, predicting its movement, outsmarting it at every turn. Hours slipped by unnoticed. Outside the warehouse, the night deepened. The city remained unaware of the war being waged behind locked doors. But inside, Maya was immersed, alive in a way she hadn't felt since her first mission years ago. This was not homework. This was life and death. Suddenly, a message blinked on her screen. "Impressive, Shadowhawk 9, but you're not done yet." Maya's heart thudded. Wraith had spoken. Not through the hacker's chatter, not through code, but directly. He knew her identity, knew her code name. She leaned back slightly, exhaling. Her mind raced. If Wraith knew who she was, her cover as a student was compromised. Every friend, every classmate, every casual interaction could now be exposed. Yet she couldn't let fear paralyze her. Her fingers flew again, isolating Wraith's remaining access points, reinforcing her countermeasures, tracing the digital footprints he had left behind. Each line of code was a step in a dangerous dance, a duel played out in circuits and servers rather than swords and streets. Hours of concentrated effort, intuition, and sheer intellect allowed Maya to isolate Wraith's presence, cornering him in a virtual sandbox she had built in Nevada. At last, she exhaled, fingers still poised above the keyboard. For the first time in hours, the monitor stabilized. Minor disruptions in Chicago corrected themselves automatically. The city, for the moment, was safe. But Maya knew better. This battle was won. Yes, but the war with Wraith had just begun. Outside, the city slept, oblivious to the crisis narrowly averted. Inside, Maya Patel, the unassuming graduate student, had proven that she was no ordinary girl. She was Shadowhawk 9, a force the Black Hawks had relied on, a protector hidden in plain sight, and a warrior whose story was just beginning. The warehouse hummed with tension, the soft glow of monitors reflecting off the walls in shifting blue and green. Maya sat at the central console, her fingers moving almost too quickly to follow, eyes scanning lines of code with a precision that bordered on obsession. Around her, the Black Hawks moved in a carefully choreographed rhythm, typing, speaking in clipped sentences, consulting maps, and tracking the city's grid in real time. The air was thick with urgency, the kind of intensity that made even the most experienced operatives hold their breath. Maya didn't flinch. She had been trained for this. "Shadowhawk 9, Commander Lewis said, approaching from behind, his face taut with worry. "We've isolated Wraith's primary node to Nevada. But he's clever. He'll move fast if he senses you've traced him. Maya nodded, her eyes never leaving the screen. Wraith wasn't just any adversary. He had history, a digital ghost who had eluded some of the agency's best operatives for years. Now he had targeted Chicago. And now he had her. His network is heavily disguised. He's adaptive, Lewis continued. You'll have to anticipate his moves. One false step, and the Trojan will trigger. Her stomach tightened. One wrong keystroke could disable Chicago's electrical grid, shut down hospitals mid-surgery, and leave water systems in chaos. The weight of responsibility was nearly suffocating, but Maya had faced pressure before. This wasn't just about skill. It was about intuition, instincts honed over years of covert operations, and the ability to think 2 moves ahead of someone who was already 3 moves ahead of everyone else. Maya leaned in closer. She could feel the hum of the servers through the floor, vibrating in sync with her heartbeat. Her eyes scanned Wraith's code, searching for patterns. At first glance, it seemed chaotic, a tangle of malicious lines designed to distract and confuse. But then, her gaze caught a subtle rhythm almost imperceptible. A heartbeat in the code. She followed it, tracing the patterns like footprints in snow. Each discovery led to another layer of deception. Wraith had left decoys, false access points, dummy commands, and traps. A single miscalculation, and she would trigger the Trojan he had embedded so carefully. Maya's fingers danced across the keyboard, countering each layer, rerouting commands into the mirror servers she had prepared. Sweat dripped down her temple, but she didn't stop. Hours passed like minutes as she worked, every heartbeat synced to the rhythm of the city outside, every keystroke a lifeline for millions. Then, a new alert flashed on her screen. System breach detected. Trojan reactivating. Her pulse spiked. Wraith wasn't just responding, he was escalating. He had anticipated her moves and adapted in real time. Maya's mind raced. She could isolate and neutralize the Trojan in seconds, but she had to be careful. Too aggressive, and the failsafe he had planted would activate. Too cautious, and the attack could spread to secondary networks. Her eyes flicked to the monitors tracking Chicago. Flickers of light pulsed across the city as minor disruptions appeared, streetlights dimming, traffic signals failing, emergency sirens echoing in the distance. Time was running out. Shadowhawk 9, status? Commander Lewis called, his voice tight. Maya didn't answer immediately. She was calculating, analyzing, weighing options. Then she spoke, calm but firm. Trojan is adaptive. Mirror servers holding. I'm tracing Wraith's node now. He's trying to escape into secondary nodes, but I can corner him. Lewis's jaw tightened. Do it, carefully. We can't risk the city. Maya's fingers moved faster, tracing lines of code across multiple servers. Wraith had covered his tracks with layers of encryption, multiple proxy chains, and false VPN tunnels. But she noticed a tiny imperfection in one of his routines, a predictable pause between sequences, a pattern he had unknowingly repeated. It was enough. She isolated the signal, following it through digital tunnels that spanned states, past firewalls, and into a server farm in Nevada. She set a trap, rerouting the Trojan into a sandbox server designed to neutralize it. Her heartbeat slowed slightly. Chicago's systems were stabilizing. But the relief was short-lived. A message appeared on her screen, taunting her. You're clever, Shadowhawk 9, but cleverness won't save them. I'm inside. Always inside. Maya's stomach nodded. Wraith had breached deeper than she thought. He wasn't just a hacker. He was a predator. And he had marked her personally. Her mind worked quickly. She couldn't allow fear to take over. She needed to anticipate his next move. Carefully, she traced the intrusion to a hidden subserver, a secondary node embedded within Chicago's water treatment network. It was a decoy, yes, but also a threat. If she mismanaged it, the Trojan could trigger immediately. Mirror servers compromised, she whispered to herself, eyes scanning cascading lines of code. She activated backup containment protocols, isolating the secondary Trojan while maintaining citywide stability. Every second felt like an eternity. Around her, the Black Hawks watched silently. Some agents whispered among themselves, impressed by her speed and precision. Others simply stared, knowing that in this room, the youngest operative was now carrying the heaviest burden. Suddenly, another message appeared. I see you, Shadowhawk 9. Always watching. Always waiting. Maya's jaw tightened. This was no longer about infrastructure. This was personal. Wraith had recognized her, perhaps from past missions, perhaps from her digital fingerprints left years ago. Either way, he knew her identity. The implications were chilling. Her cover as a student was gone. Every friend, every classmate, every casual interaction could now be exposed. But she didn't dwell on it. She couldn't. There wasn't time for fear. She leaned forward, breathing steadily. Her fingers moved faster, isolating every last strand of malicious code, rerouting it into sandbox servers, and sealing Wraith's digital presence. Hours passed, the night deepening outside the warehouse. The city remained mostly unaware of the storm narrowly averted. Hospitals continued operating. Traffic lights blinked steadily. Chicago was, for the moment, safe. But Wraith wasn't done. Another alert flashed. Attempted data breach detected. Maya's eyes narrowed. He was still probing, still testing, still trying to break through. She knew one thing. This wouldn't end tonight. Wraith had marked her as a target, and she would need to stay several steps ahead. Commander Lewis came closer. You've stabilized the grid for now, he said quietly. But he's persistent. We need more than countermeasures. We need to find him. Maya nodded, wiping sweat from her brow. I can track him, she said. I just need a secure line and uninterrupted access. He'll make a mistake. I just have to wait for it. Her confidence wasn't bravado. It was experience, instinct, and the quiet certainty that she had been prepared for this her entire life. The warehouse fell silent except for the hum of the servers. Maya's eyes remained locked on the screens. Outside, Chicago slept. Inside, Shadowhawk 9 fought a silent battle against one of the most dangerous hackers she had ever faced. For the first time in years, she felt alive, not as Maya Patel, the ordinary student, but as Shadowhawk 9, the protector hidden in plain sight. And she knew this battle, as dangerous as it was just the beginning. The hum of the warehouse seemed louder tonight, as if even the walls themselves were holding their breath. Maya's eyes didn't leave the screens. Streams of code scrolled faster than human comprehension, each line a potential disaster or a lifeline. The city of Chicago depended on her, though no one outside these walls knew it. Hospitals, subway lines, traffic grids, water treatment plants, all were vulnerable, all silently tied to the strings Wraith had woven from afar. Commander Lewis hovered near her shoulder, arms crossed, jaw tight. Shadowhawk 9, he said, voice low. We've confirmed minor outages across the west side. It's spreading faster than expected. You need to contain it now. Maya's fingers froze briefly over the keyboard. The west side flickers weren't random. They were deliberate probes, testing her defenses. Wraith wasn't just sending a Trojan. He was learning, adapting, exploring weak points. Her mind went into hyperfocus. Years of cryptography, code analysis, and mission training condensed into instinctual movements. She launched countermeasures, rerouting energy surges and isolating faulty nodes. Every tap of the keyboard had consequences. One wrong line could trigger blackouts, leave neighborhoods in darkness, or worse, disable hospital systems mid-operation. Secondary Trojan detected in the water treatment plant, another agent announced, voice tense. Maya's jaw tightened. The city's water supply was vulnerable. If contaminated or disrupted, it would trigger chaos in hours. She zoomed into the network, eyes darting across a labyrinth of encrypted pathways. Wraith had anticipated standard containment strategies and laid traps to punish anyone who tried them. Her heartbeat quickened. This wasn't theoretical. It was real. Families could wake to silence, darkness, and panic. Hospitals could fail. Emergency services could collapse. Maya leaned forward, scanning the network. "I'm isolating it," she said, voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Her fingers moved faster than ever. She created virtual containment walls, rerouting malicious commands into a sandbox server. But then she noticed the failsafe embedded deep in the Trojan 1 tiny trigger designed to activate if containment was attempted improperly. Her eyes narrowed. One wrong calculation, and she'd trigger a citywide blackout. "Careful, Shadowhawk 9, Commander Lewis muttered. "He's setting traps inside traps." She swallowed hard. Wraith wasn't just a hacker. He was a predator, a strategist, a digital sniper whose target was Chicago, and now her personally. Maya isolated the failsafe. Her fingers moved in a delicate rhythm, undoing what Wraith had built without activating the trap. It was like defusing a bomb made entirely of invisible threads. One slip, and the city would be plunged into darkness. A sudden alert made her jump. Main grid breach detected. The monitors flashed red, showing cascading failures across the downtown area. Streetlights dimmed, traffic signals blinked erratically, and surveillance cameras went dark. Panic was only seconds away from spilling into the streets. Maya's pulse surged. This was the moment she had trained for. She didn't flinch. Her hands flew across the keyboard, rerouting power through redundant lines, patching vulnerabilities, and isolating compromised nodes. "Shadowhawk 9, you've got company on the Nevada node," an agent said urgently. "He's moving fast." Maya didn't pause. Wraith's attempts to escape through proxy networks were predictable once she read his rhythm. She countered, isolating him, locking his digital pathways. Her mind calculated probabilities, visualizing each possible escape route and trapping him step by step. A new message blinked on her screen. "You're good. Too good. But you can't stop me forever." Maya's lips pressed into a thin line. Wraith was taunting her, trying to force a mistake. But she didn't respond emotionally. She focused on action. Every line of code she wrote was a defensive maneuver and a trap at once. She reached the core of Wraith's Trojan embedded in the water treatment plant network. Its complexity was staggering. Nested layers, encryption protocols within encryption protocols, each designed to deceive, mislead, and punish any operator brave or foolish enough to intervene. Maya isolated the code with precision. Her heart raced as she activated the virtual containment servers. Slowly, methodically, the Trojan spread halted. The system stabilized. Water pressure normalized. Treatment processes continued uninterrupted. Then the monitors blinked again. Another threat, secondary, tertiary, embedded deep within Chicago's secondary grids. Wraith had anticipated her actions, leaving a trail of digital landmines for her to navigate. Her breath came in shallow, controlled bursts. Sweat beaded along her temples, dripping onto her hands as she typed with laser focus. She didn't notice Commander Lewis approaching again until he spoke. "You're doing it. The city's stabilizing. But he's still in the network, Shadowhawk. He's testing you." Maya's jaw tightened. She knew it. Wraith's digital presence pulsed like a heartbeat she could feel even across encrypted lines. He had made it personal. Her cover as a student, once a shield, was now meaningless. Her mind flashed back to her dorm, to the life she had tried to live. Friends, lectures, mundane assignments, they were all illusions, now at risk. And still, she didn't hesitate. She engaged the last layer of containment. A flurry of keystrokes isolated Wraith's primary node, forcing him into a corner of his own making. The screen flickered as he tried to reroute, but she anticipated each move, locking paths and sealing escape routes. Her heart pounded. Outside, lights across Chicago flickered uncertainly, a subtle reminder that the city's stability still teetered on the edge. She couldn't slow down. She couldn't falter. Finally, Wraith attempted one last desperate maneuver, an attempt to redirect the Trojan into a power substation downtown. Maya reacted instantly, redirecting the signal into the virtual sandbox she had created, neutralizing it completely. For a moment, silence. The monitors stabilized. The hum of the servers became steady again. Streetlights glowed, water systems normalized, and the city exhaled without knowing it had been saved. Commander Lewis stepped forward, face a mixture of relief and awe. Shadowhawk 9. You did it? The city is safe. For now. Maya leaned back, exhausted, sweat dripping, muscles tight from hours of tension. She allowed herself a single breath of relief, but didn't relax. She knew Wraith had not disappeared. He had been forced into retreat, yes, but he would be back. And next time, he would be more dangerous. Her phone buzzed quietly in her pocket. A single message appeared. You've proven yourself tonight. But the game isn't over. Maya exhaled slowly, pressing her fingers to her eyes. She had saved the city. She had beaten Wraith, at least for now. But she understood the truth. Her cover, her ordinary life, her fragile identity as Maya Patel, the quiet graduate student, was gone. She was fully Shadowhawk 9 now. The warehouse fell silent, except for the soft hum of servers. Agents around her were quietly processing the night's events, but Maya's mind was already moving forward. Wraith was out there, watching, planning, waiting. And when he returned, she would have to be ready, not just as an operative, but as the city's hidden protector, a warrior concealed in plain sight. Tonight had revealed her true self, and there was no turning back. The warehouse was bathed in cold, flickering light from dozens of monitors. Outside, Chicago seemed peaceful, but the city was only calm because Maya Patel's Shadowhawk 9 had forced it to be. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard, poised for the slightest anomaly. Wraith hadn't disappeared. He had retreated into the shadows, regrouping, planning his next move. And Maya knew that when he returned, he would escalate. Her eyes scanned the lines of code for subtle changes. Wraith's presence was almost imperceptible, hidden among the secondary nodes, probing the city's infrastructure with the patience of a predator. It was like watching a master chess player, each move calculated and meant to force a reaction. Shadowhawk 9, Commander Lewis said from behind her, voice low, tense. We've traced unusual network activity in the hospital systems. Wraith is testing emergency services now. Maya didn't flinch. Her pulse was steady, but her mind raced. Hospitals were vulnerable. Lives were at stake. The stakes had shifted from abstract grids and water pipelines to real human beings, breathing, working, relying on the city's lifelines to survive. She leaned closer, eyes narrowing. Wraith was clever, but predictable in his unpredictability. Every hacker left patterns, subtle flaws. She spotted one in a string of encrypted packets, a recurring latency that allowed her to trace back the signal. Her fingers moved faster, executing complex countermeasures. Each command neutralized one layer of the Trojan, rerouted corrupted signals into mirror servers, and stabilized critical hospital systems. Lines of code twisted and writhed like snakes under her hands, but she remained calm, focused, precise. Suddenly, the monitors flashed red. A new message appeared. Impressive. But now the city itself will burn. Maya's jaw tightened. Wraith wasn't bluffing. She scanned the network and saw the signs. Coordinated power surges, substation overrides, and hidden triggers across downtown Chicago. He had embedded a secondary catastrophic Trojan designed to cascade across multiple sectors simultaneously. Her mind raced. There was no margin for error. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and the city could descend into chaos. Shadowhawk 9, Lewis said quietly. You need to contain the secondary Trojan before it triggers. You have less than 45 minutes. Maya's pulse surged. 45 minutes. She had to anticipate every step Wraith would take next. A challenge was almost impossible. But she didn't hesitate. She dove deeper into the code, following Wraith's digital footprints like a predator tracking prey. He had left traps within traps, subtle redundancies, fake failsafes, and hidden loops designed to punish the unwary. Maya identified them one by one, isolating the true threats while ignoring the decoys. Her hands moved faster than her mind could consciously process. Every movement was instinct, honed from years of clandestine missions, encrypted drills, and relentless training. Hours compressed into minutes as she worked. The warehouse was silent, except for the low hum of servers and the occasional murmur from agents assisting her. Outside, the city's lights flickered as if in anticipation. Every second was critical. Suddenly, the monitor showed a direct threat to the city's transit systems. Subway lines were at risk, traffic signals faltering. Panic could spread faster than Wraith's Trojan. Maya's heart raced, but she didn't hesitate. She isolated the transit nodes, redirecting corrupted signals into containment servers. It was precise work too aggressive, and she might trigger an emergency shutdown. Too cautious, and Wraith could escape undetected. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Sweat dripped from her forehead. She felt the pressure pressing down on her like a weight, but her mind was sharper than ever. She neutralized each segment methodically, moving with confidence, precision, and speed. Then another alert blinked across her screen. Wraith was adapting. The secondary Trojan had shifted, its code evolving in real time to bypass her countermeasures. It was no longer static, it was learning, anticipating, responding. Maya's jaw tightened. He was trying to outthink her, and she had to respond faster than he could adapt. She activated a new strategy. Instead of direct containment, she created decoy pathways, feeding false signals to lure Wraith's code into a virtual trap she had constructed. It was risky. If he detected the decoys, the city could face simultaneous failure in power, water, and transportation networks. Her heart thumped. She had to commit. With a deep breath, she executed the maneuver, guiding the Trojan into her trap. The monitors flickered violently as Wraith's code reacted, twisted, and attempted escape, but the trap held. Got him, Maya whispered under her breath. The warehouse erupted in quiet celebration. Her teammates exchanged glances of relief and awe. Few had ever seen anyone move so decisively under such pressure, neutralizing a threat this advanced, this adaptive, and this personal. But Maya didn't celebrate. Not yet. She knew Wraith wasn't gone, only contained temporarily. His final message blinked on her screen. You've won this round, Shadowhawk 9. But the war has just begun. Her jaw tightened. Wraith had revealed himself as not just a hacker, but a strategist, a predator, someone who understood her capabilities. She had defended the city, yes, but she was now a marked target. Commander Lewis approached, his expression a mixture of pride and concern. "You did it. The city is safe. For now. But we'll need to monitor all networks continuously. He's not finished, and he'll come back." Maya nodded, still focused on the monitors. Outside, Chicago remained unaware of how close it had come to disaster. Traffic lights blinked steadily. Hospitals hummed. Subway systems ran on time. The city slept safely, at least for the moment. She allowed herself a single exhale. Her hands trembled slightly, but she straightened quickly. She had survived the first wave, neutralized the Trojan, and stabilized the city. But she knew the game was far from over. Her phone buzzed quietly, displaying a secure line alert. A single message appeared. "Shadowhawk 9, stand by. We've located a potential secondary node." Black Hawk's command. Maya exhaled slowly, pressing her hands against the console. She was exhausted, but there was no time to rest. The city's survival depended on her vigilance, her instincts, and her ability to stay one step ahead of Wraith. As the night stretched on, Maya felt a strange clarity. She was no longer just a student, no longer just Maya Patel with lectures, assignments, and mundane routines. She was Shadowhawk 9, an operative who had just saved a city, who had outwitted one of the most dangerous hackers alive, and who now carried the weight of countless lives in her hands. Outside, Chicago's skyline shimmered in the moonlight, oblivious to the crisis that had unfolded and the hero who had saved it. Inside the warehouse, Shadowhawk 9 prepared for the next battle. Because she knew Wraith would return, and when he did, the stakes would be higher, the danger greater, and the city's survival entirely in her hands. The warehouse felt colder now, the blue glow of monitors reflecting off Maya's face as her eyes darted across cascading lines of code. Chicago appeared calm outside, but inside, the city's survival hung by a thread. Wraith wasn't just probing anymore. He was escalating, testing every defensive measure she had deployed. Every second brought a new threat: hidden scripts, adaptive Trojan subroutines, and deceptive loops designed to mislead her. Commander Lewis stood near the back of the room, voice tense. "Shadowhawk 9, we've confirmed Wraith is attempting simultaneous breaches in the financial district and the West Side hospitals. If he succeeds, the city could collapse within minutes." Maya's jaw tightened. She had stabilized the initial Trojan, contained the secondary attacks, but Wraith's ingenuity was relentless. This wasn't just cyber war, it was a strategic onslaught, a siege fought in code and infrastructure, with lives dangling in the balance. She leaned into her console, fingers flying, eyes scanning every anomaly. Wraith had left faint traces in his code, subtle latencies and patterns that revealed his next target. She traced his digital footprint, mapping potential strike points across the city. Hospitals, power substations, transit hubs, all were vulnerable, and he was testing them simultaneously. Her hands moved faster than she thought possible, rerouting corrupted signals, reinforcing backup servers, and deploying containment protocols across multiple networks at once. Sweat dripped down her temples as she fought against time. She could feel the weight of Chicago pressing against her shoulders. Every keystroke was a decision, every command a potential lifeline or death sentence. Suddenly, an alert flashed. Emergency water network breach detected. Critical nodes compromised. Maya's stomach tightened. If the city's water supply failed, panic would spread, hospitals would be overwhelmed, and lives would be lost. She zoomed into the compromised nodes. Wraith's code was sophisticated, adaptive, and insidious. Embedded deep within were hidden triggers capable of bypassing conventional countermeasures. One misstep, one miscalculation, and the system could collapse entirely. Her pulse quickened. She activated a series of decoy nodes, feeding false signals to lure Wraith's code into virtual traps she had designed. The countermeasures were risky, too aggressive, and they could trigger failsafes. Too cautious, and the attack would spread unchecked. Shadowhawk 9, Lewis said quietly. The financial district is showing irregular surges. He's testing multiple systems at once. You're the only one who can contain it all. Maya didn't flinch. Her mind raced, calculating probabilities, anticipating Wraith's moves, predicting his adaptations. She had fought this man in digital space before he was clever, patient, and always observing, but she had learned his patterns. Hours seemed compressed into minutes. The monitors flickered, showing minor outages in the downtown grid. Streetlights dimmed, elevators stopped mid-floor, emergency alarms blared in hospitals. Maya's eyes narrowed. She had to stabilize the city quickly, but Wraith's code was evolving faster than she could contain it. Then another alert appeared. Main substation override. Imminent power surge. Her breath caught. The surge could cascade across the city, shutting down everything from hospitals to traffic systems. Maya worked methodically, isolating the substation's connections, redirecting energy flows into backup systems. The countermeasures were delicate, a complex choreography of reroutes, containment, and stabilization. A sudden message appeared on her screen, taunting. Clever, Shadowhawk 9. But how long can you keep this up? Chicago will crumble before dawn. Maya's jaw tightened. Wraith's attacks weren't random, they were psychological. He wanted to break her, force her into mistakes. But she didn't give him that satisfaction. Every command she typed was precise, every maneuver calculated. She was no longer a student. She was Chicago's hidden protector, a warrior concealed in plain sight. The monitors flickered violently as Wraith escalated. Secondary nodes in the financial district began failing. Subways stalled mid-route, hospital systems flickered. Maya's heart raced, but she maintained focus. She activated a layered defense protocol, isolating failing nodes, rerouting systems, and creating a digital trap specifically for Wraith's adaptive Trojan. And another alert, tertiary breach detected. High risk. Maya's stomach tightened. This was the most dangerous threat, yet a coordinated attempt to destabilize multiple critical sectors simultaneously. She realized Wraith had predicted some of her responses. He was probing weaknesses in her strategy, attempting to force a catastrophic failure. Her hands flew, creating virtual containment zones, deploying decoy servers, and isolating malicious scripts. Sweat dripped onto her keyboard as she typed with relentless speed. The city's fate was no longer abstract. It was real, immediate, and terrifyingly fragile. Suddenly, she spotted a pattern, a subtle repetition in Wraith's code that revealed his next intended target, the central transit hub. If it failed, commuter chaos would escalate, and emergency responses would be delayed citywide. Maya's eyes narrowed. She had to intercept. Her fingers danced over the keys, isolating corrupted signals, rerouting them into containment servers, and stabilizing the transit network just as the Trojan attempted to override it. The monitors flickered and then stabilized. For a brief moment, relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. She knew Wraith was still out there, adapting, planning, waiting. Another message appeared. Well done, Shadowhawk 9, but the night is far from over. The city will know true fear soon. Maya exhaled slowly. She had prevented multiple catastrophic failures, stabilized critical systems, and neutralized Wraith's primary and secondary attacks. But the war was far from over. He had marked her as a target. Her cover as Maya Patel, the quiet student, was meaningless now. Shadowhawk 9, Lewis said, voice tight. You've done the impossible tonight. But he's not finished. We need to track him, anticipate his next move, and prepare for what's coming. Maya nodded. Her mind was already analyzing, already preparing. Wraith would return. He would escalate. But she was ready. She had learned his patterns, predicted his moves, and stabilized the city. The next time, she would be even faster, smarter, and more prepared. The warehouse fell silent except for the hum of servers. Outside, Chicago's skyline shimmered in the moonlight, peaceful and unaware of the chaos narrowly avoided. Inside, Shadowhawk 9 remained at her console, fully aware of the danger yet resolute in her duty. The night had revealed her true self. She was no longer just a student. She was Shadowhawk 9, a defender, a strategist, a warrior hidden in plain sight. And she knew the next battle would be even more dangerous. The warehouse felt like a battlefield. Monitors glowed like war lamps in the dim room, each one displaying a part of the city Maya had sworn to protect. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard, poised for the slightest flicker, the tiniest anomaly. Wraith was no longer testing her. He was attacking directly, aggressively, strategically. Every second mattered. Every misstep could cost lives. Shadowhawk 9, Commander Lewis said quietly, his eyes scanning the monitors. We've tracked a coordinated strike. Wraith is targeting the central hospital complex and the financial grid simultaneously. He's escalating. He's going for maximum impact. Maya's pulse quickened. This was it, the point where hesitation could destroy everything. The central hospital complex wasn't just a cluster of buildings. It was the lifeline of the city. Patients on ventilators, surgeries in progress, emergency response centers. It was all at risk. And the financial grid? One coordinated strike could cause chaos, paralyze the city's economy, and trigger panic that would ripple through every neighborhood. She didn't hesitate. Her mind snapped into hyperfocus, instincts honed from years of covert operations taking over. Fingers flew across the keyboard, creating containment zones, rerouting corrupted signals, and isolating malicious scripts. She worked on two fronts simultaneously, alternating between stabilizing hospital systems and securing the financial grid. The monitors flickered violently. Wraith's code was adaptive, morphing faster than she could anticipate. It wasn't just a Trojan anymore. It was a living, evolving threat designed to outsmart her. Shadowhawk, secondary node alert subway, and traffic networks, an agent called out. Maya's jaw tightened. The city's entire infrastructure was under siege. She had to prioritize, triage, make decisions that could have catastrophic consequences if wrong. She split her focus, her mind racing, calculating probabilities, predicting Wraith's next moves. Hours seemed to compress into minutes. Sweat dripped down her face, her fingers flew across the keyboard in a blur. She stabilized the hospital systems first, rerouting life support data, securing emergency communications, and neutralizing the most dangerous aspects of Wraith's code. Then she shifted to the financial grid, isolating corrupted transactions, rerouting servers, and sealing breach points before they could trigger cascading failures. Her eyes flicked across the monitors as alerts continued to flash. Wraith wasn't just reactive, he was anticipating her moves, laying traps inside traps, forcing her to think 2 steps ahead. Every action had a consequence, and the margin for error was non-existent. Suddenly, a message appeared on her main screen. Impressive, Shadowhawk 9, but courage alone won't save the city. I'm inside your network. I know you. Maya froze for a split second, her heart pounding. Wraith had breached her personal firewall. He had identified her digital signature, and with it, the identity of Shadowhawk 9. Her cover as Maya Patel, the quiet graduate student, was gone. He could trace her movements, anticipate her actions, and exploit her weaknesses. Her jaw tightened. Fear didn't have a place here. She had trained for this. She was ready. She activated an emergency containment protocol, a virtual maze designed to trap Wraith's adaptive code. It was risky. If he detected the trap, he could trigger simultaneous failures across multiple city sectors. But she had no choice. She had to contain him before he caused irreversible damage. The monitors flickered violently as the digital duel intensified. Wraith's code fought back, probing for weaknesses, attempting to escape containment, trying to lure Maya into mistakes. Her fingers flew faster, moving with precision and intuition, rerouting corrupted signals, isolating malicious scripts, and anticipating every countermeasure he deployed. Minutes felt like hours. Maya's muscles ached. Her mind was exhausted, but she couldn't stop. Lives hung in the balance. The city's fate rested entirely on her ability to outthink, outmaneuver, and contain Wraith. Then another alert appeared. Critical substation breach. Downtown Chicago. Her stomach tightened. If the downtown substation failed, it could cascade across the city, shutting down hospitals, water systems, transit networks, and communication hubs simultaneously. She had seconds to act. Maya focused, isolating corrupted nodes, redirecting power flows, and reinforcing containment measures. Wraith's code resisted, adaptive and relentless, but she had anticipated this escalation. Slowly, methodically, she forced the Trojan into her digital trap, sealing it within a virtual sandbox designed to neutralize adaptive threats. The warehouse was tense. Agents held their breath, watching Maya operate at the edge of human capability. She was no longer a student. She was Shadowhawk 9, the city's hidden protector, a warrior in cyberspace, the only thing standing between Chicago and catastrophe. Suddenly, the monitors flickered again. A new message for Wraith appeared. "You've slowed me, Shadowhawk, but you cannot stop me forever. The city will feel fear." Soon, Maya exhaled slowly, pressing her palms to the console. She had neutralized the immediate threat, stabilized the city, and contained Wraith's attacks for the moment. But she knew he was still out there, observing, planning, adapting. Commander Lewis approached, expression a mix of pride and concern. "You've done it, Maya. The city is stable. For now, but he's not gone. He's going to strike again, and it will be worse." Maya nodded, her eyes scanning the monitors. The battle wasn't over. Wraith's final message was a warning. He knew her, he understood her strategies, and he was coming back stronger. Her phone buzzed. A secure line flashed. "Shadowhawk 9, we've detected a secondary node outside the city limits. Wraith may be planning a larger strike." Black Hawk's command, Maya's jaw tightened. She allowed herself a single breath, then focused again. The city had survived this night, but the war with Wraith was far from over. She was no longer just Maya Patel. She was Shadowhawk 9, and she would face Wraith's next move head-on. The monitors hummed quietly. Outside, Chicago's skyline shimmered under the moonlight, oblivious to the danger that had been narrowly averted. Inside, Shadowhawk 9 prepared for the next confrontation. Because she knew one thing with certainty: Wraith's return would be more dangerous, more calculated, and more deadly. And when he came back, the city and Maya herself would face the ultimate test. The warehouse was electric with tension. Maya sat at the center of a web of monitors, the glow reflecting across her sweat-dampened face. Wraith had struck again, this time with a precision and ferocity unlike anything she had encountered. Multiple nodes across the city pulsed red with alerts. Hospitals flickered, substations surged, and transit networks teetered on the brink of collapse. The clock was ticking, and the countdown wasn't just digital, it was life itself. "Shadowhawk 9, Commander Lewis said, voice taut, "we've traced Wraith to an abandoned industrial server farm outside the city. This is his stronghold. He's planning a final, coordinated strike. You have one chance to stop him." Maya's heart thudded, adrenaline sharpening every sense. She had faced Wraith before, neutralized adaptive Trojans, stabilized city systems, and contained multiple attacks, but this was different. He wasn't testing her anymore. He was hunting her, and the entire city was caught in the crossfire. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Every line of code, every protocol, every countermeasure had led to this moment. Wraith's adaptive system had begun self-learning, anticipating her every move. She would have to outthink him in real time. There was no room for error. Initiating direct counterstrike, Maya murmured, deploying a network of decoy servers and containment traps across Wraith's digital footprint. The monitors flickered violently as his code reacted, probing for weaknesses, testing every possible escape. Her mind was razor-sharp. She traced his primary node, noting subtle latency patterns he couldn't hide. Each anomaly was a breadcrumb leading straight to him. Slowly, methodically, she maneuvered Wraith's code into the virtual maze she had constructed. It was a high-stakes gamble. If he detected it, he could trigger simultaneous blackouts, water failures, and transit collapses. Seconds stretched into eternities as she guided his adaptive Trojan deeper into the trap. Monitors displayed cascading alerts. Wraith's system was fighting back, attempting reroutes, exploiting redundancies, and trying to anticipate her next move. Maya responded instantly, isolating, rerouting, and containing each attack. A sudden alert made her heart leap. Secondary node breach. Downtown substations critical. Wraith had expected her strategy. He was escalating, forcing her into a reactionary position. Maya's pulse raced. She had to stabilize the substations while maintaining control of the trap. Sweat dripped from her forehead as she typed with relentless speed, her focus absolute. The city's entire electrical infrastructure teetered on the edge. One wrong move, and Chicago would plunge into chaos. Then, a message appeared on her screen, stark and personal. Shadowhawk 9. You fought well, but the city belongs to me tonight. Her jaw tightened. He knew her identity. He knew she was Maya Patel. Every instinct screamed caution, but fear was useless now. She had trained for this. She had faced impossible odds before. And tonight, she would prove why she was Shadowhawk 9. She activated the final phase of her trap, a self-contained digital sandbox designed to mimic the city's entire network, diverting Wraith's adaptive code into a loop where it could be neutralized. It was dangerous. If he detected it too early, the city's infrastructure could fail completely. Her fingers moved in a blur, faster than thought itself. Each keystroke executed multiple protocols simultaneously, stabilizing hospitals, transit networks, water systems, and financial grids, while luring Wraith's code deeper into the trap. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then the monitors flickered. Wraith's code hesitated, twisted, and tried a desperate reroute, but Maya had anticipated it. With a final command, she sealed the node, trapping Wraith in the virtual maze. The warehouse exhaled collectively. Agents exchanged awed glances. Maya's hands trembled slightly, but her mind was focused, calculating every aftershock, every ripple of consequence. Outside, Chicago remained alive, oblivious to the crisis that had just been averted. A secure message blinked on her console. Containment complete. All critical systems stabilized. Wraith neutralized. Maya exhaled slowly, allowing herself a moment of relief. She had done it. The city was safe. Wraith had been outsmarted, his adaptive code trapped and neutralized. The long night of danger, stress, and life-or-death decisions had ended. Commander Lewis approached, his expression a mixture of pride and awe. You did it, Shadowhawk 9. Chicago owes you its survival tonight. You've outsmarted one of the most dangerous hackers alive. Maya nodded, her hands resting on the keyboard. He won't be gone forever, but he's contained for now. and the city is safe. The agents began debriefing, analyzing logs, and confirming the stability of every critical network. Maya's mind remained sharp, already replaying the battle in her head, noting where she could improve, what strategies had worked, and what Wraith had anticipated. She had survived this night, but she knew vigilance would always be required. For the first time in hours, she allowed herself to look away from the screens. Chicago's skyline shimmered under rising sun, streets humming with life, oblivious to how close disaster had come. She thought of hospitals, subways, traffic lights, water treatment facilities, all functioning, all stabilized, all a testament to her skill, courage, and resilience. Her phone buzzed quietly. A personal message from Black Hawk's command. Shadowhawk 9, the city owes you more than you realize. You've proven yourself beyond doubt. Rest for now, but stay vigilant. Maya exhaled, pressing her hands against her face. Exhaustion, relief, and adrenaline collided in a strange mixture. She was Maya Patel, the student, but she was also Shadowhawk 9, the city's hidden protector, a warrior concealed in plain sight. Outside the warehouse, the city awoke. Lights blinked steadily. People went about their routines, unaware of the war that had been fought in code, behind locked doors, by a single young woman. Maya stepped away from the console, allowing herself to breathe, stretch, and finally feel a measure of victory. But deep inside, she knew this was only one battle. Wraith had been contained, not destroyed. He would return, more cunning and more dangerous. And when he did, she would be ready. Tonight, she had proven herself. Tonight, Shadowhawk 9 had saved Chicago, and the city slept safely, protected by someone no one would ever suspect, a quiet graduate student, brilliant, brave, and unstoppable.